We start with the roll call for all of the staff. Ron, we start with you and we'll work around the horseshoe here.
Ron Hayes, District 1.
Candace Blair, District 3.
Mike Twombly, District 1.
Robbie LaValle, interim planning.
Tim McCracken, engineering.
Kate Kurt, planner. Brittany Haining, planning tech.
Everett Neal, code compliance.
Scott Cheats, Public Works.
Okay, we're gonna move on to public comments. Is anybody here to comment on something that is not on our agenda? Oh, I'm sorry. I got that. Oh, yeah, I'm sorry.
You're good. You're in order.
I'm brain freeze. Is there, I think it's all applicants this evening, correct?
Yeah.
Nobody's here to comment on anything else. Moving on, agenda additions, deletions, and corrections. Everything's the same on the agenda.
Yes, sir.
There are no meeting minutes. Let's move on to the scheduled item. The first item on the schedule is PLN 22-184 Lopez.
All right, so the first application is PLN 22-184 Lopez. This application is to consider two variances reducing the required lot size from 20.32 acres in the A20 zoning district to about 10 acres for each lot. The subject property is located on the north side of F Road in Delta. This parcel is zoned A20, which requires a 20-acre minimum for subdivision. The application is for a minor plat, which is a 2-lot subdivision. Neither lot meets the minimum acreage as required by the zoning district. Therefore, both lots need a variance to lot size. Both lots are established with access from F Road. However, no access permits are on file. And Tri-County Water has confirmed that there are 2 water taps assigned to the property. 1 tap will serve each lot. The property is located approximately 3.65 miles east of the city of Delta on the north side of F Road. Again, it's been zoned as A20. The majority of the abutting parcels have also been zoned A20 with acreages ranging from 240 acres to 1.34 acres. There is a portion of A5 to the east that continues to a much larger area of A5. The further that you go, and those acreages range from 73 acres to 2.16 acres. So this is a site plan that was submitted by the applicant. Lot 1 consists of a shed and a residential unit. However, the unit is not suitable for living as the applicant is in the process of remodeling the home. The home has electrical service and a Tri-County water tap. It will need an access permit issued as well as address and an OWTS permit. And lot 2 is established with 2 residences and sheds with all utilities and septic installed. The intent of the split is so the applicant can move into the residence on lot 1 once it is completed and leave lot 2 to family who is already residing on the property. So both lots, again, already have residences in place. Access will be reviewed by county engineering as part of the subdivision review, and access permits will be issued for each lot prior to a final plat being recorded. Domestic water is established for each lot as well as electricity. Lot 2 has 2 OWTS permits for the existing residents. Lot 1 will be able to obtain an OWTS permit once the site plan review has been completed for the remodeled home and an address has been assigned to that residence. So the staff recommended conditions are that access shall be constructed for both lots to county road standards and accepted by the county engineer prior to accepting and recording the final plat. The final plat shall be annotated such that no further subdivision of either lot created by this subsection is allowed unless the properties are rezoned. And the final plat shall include easements for any utilities or access that cross another property. So with that, staff recommends that your board consider required variance criteria and findings as they apply to PLN 22-184 Lopez and approve, conditionally approve, or deny lot size variances to subdivide a 20.32 acre parcel into 2 lots in the A20 zoning designation located on the north side of F Road, and authorize the acting director to prepare a resolution reflecting your decision. And that concludes my presentation. And Ms. Lopez is here.
Okay. Fighter, if he has anything to add.
Okay.
Do you have anything to add to your application? No? Okay. Anybody have questions for staff? We've got lots of staff this evening.
Are there certain compliance issues right now?
So right now, the case was originally, a code compliance case was established due to the condition of the property for junk and rubbish. And of course, a couple of very old mobile homes. And originally we had stopped because that does cease all permitting. However, they have been making progress. And in fact, one of the things they did is one of the mobile homes is half buried in the ground. And they have uprooted it, they're moving it out, and they're working on trying to figure out how to dispose of them because none of them can find titles or record. And that is a very onerous issue to try to get rid of 2 pre-nuts. So rather than stop the application, seeing that their progress and they're working with me, I felt that we could continue to work together to bring the property into compliance, but not hold up their need to work on their subdivision and create, in its essence, is gonna make the situation better. So I didn't want to hold up their progress, and also didn't want to stop them from being able to continue the work.
Questions
No, that
for staff?
answered that, yes.
So I'm thinking, right, they don't have anything on record for any access. There are
There's no access permit.
no access.
Yeah, so the access is existing in a sense, but it's just not
not
permitted.
record. So I'm assuming the septic systems are. That's pretty old permit, because we don't do those in the last several years without an address. Correct. Or for,
well, I mean, based on the permit numbers from environmental health, I think one of them's from 94 and then the other one's from 2008.
Okay.
So. One of them is fairly older.
you guys don't see any issue with applying as far as the permits for
I mean,
address, access
no,
and septic?
No.
Okay.
I would make a motion that we would conditionally approve PLN 22-184 Lopez. As
Go ahead.
as written, is
With the conditions that are
with the conditions that have.
presented by staff. Okay. Motion's been made.
I'll second that motion. For PLN 22-184 Lopez on both variances.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye,
Aye.
motion carries.
so you don't have to stay for the rest of the meeting if you don't want to, if you want to, you can, but we will send a follow-up letter to you explaining the next step in the process.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good rest of the night.
You too.
You too.
Next item on the agenda, CLN 23-059 Brooks.
So this next application, PLN 23-059 Brooks, is for consideration of a variance to reduce the required distance between driveways accessing a county road right of way as required by Delta County Road and Bridge standards. The property is located on the west side of Bull Mesa Road in Cedar Edge. This application is for a site plan review for a single family residence. The site plan includes domestic water, access, address, and septic. The parcel is 12.275 acres and has been zoned A20. It is lot 3 of the Seagent subdivision. A deed of easements was recorded, creating multiple easements encumbered on lot 1 of the Seagent subdivision. This document has changed the county approved access points that were on the final plat for lots 2 and 3 of the Seagent subdivision. And those were done without county review. The subject property is located 1.84 miles westerly of the town of Cedar Edge on the west side of Bull Mesa Road. Again, the property's been zoned A20 with surrounding areas consisting of A20, A35, and A5. So this is the final plat of the Seagent subdivision. Lot 3 is the subject property of the Brooks application. I've illustrated the 3 access points that were approved on the final plat. The purple area along the southern boundary line of lot 1 was the access easement for lot 2. The yellow area that goes in the north-south direction through lot 1 was the access for both the users of the diversion ditch of the child's ditch and the access to lot 3. And then the green star was the access to lot 1 itself from Bull Mesa Road. So this is the exhibit from the deed of easements that was recorded in May of 2022. It's kind of hard to see here, so I've gone through and illustrated each easement individually. So the first one that was put in the document was an easement for livestock access to the child's ditch. This easement did not have any effect on any county approved access for any of the lots within the Seagent subdivision. So the second easement was an access easement, and the document states that the intent of this easement is to replace the 30-foot access easement within lot 1 of Seagent subdivision SUD 20-005 as recorded on April 6, 2021 under reception number 727-854. The previous 30-foot access easement is to be abandoned by this document. And then the last easement that was put in there is for a 20-foot ingress egress easement for users of the diversion ditch from the child's ditch head gate. And it stated in there that the intent of this easement is to replace the 20-foot ingress egress easement within lot 1 of Seagent subdivision. And that the previous 20-foot ingress egress easement is to be abandoned by this document. So those 2 yellow areas that I've highlighted, those were the original plat notes for the easements, and that's what is labeled as being abandoned by this deed of easements. So this is an illustration of the proposed access. This illustration was done by county engineering, but it does show where the proposed access is wanting to be placed. The yellow arrow illustrates exactly where the location is for the proposed access. As you can see, there's an existing driveway access north of this proposed access. This access is used, the access to the north is used for the neighbor, Mr. Waller. And the proposed access is a little over 40 feet from the existing access, which does not meet the county road and bridge standards. So engineering submitted comments, and those included that the proposed access is from Bull Mesa Road. And that road is a collector road, which requires 200 feet between residential driveways. There were also 4 options that were discussed with the applicant. Option 1 was to use the access easement shown and approved on the Seagent subdivision plat. Option 2 was to obtain an easement from lot 1 of Seagent subdivision to use the access at 15813 Bull Mesa Road, which is the permitted access to lot 1. The third option was to get an easement from 15967 Bull Mesa Road, which is Mr. Waller's property, for the existing driveway to the north, which would not require a variance. And the fourth one was to obtain a variance for the proposed location from your board. Engineering department supports options 1 and 2, with option 4 being the last resort. So required findings. There are 3 findings that your board must find in order to approve a variation to the regulations in place. They include unique conditions, hardship, and public detriment. The parcel is currently landlocked due to the deed of easements that was recorded as it changed the county approved access for the Seagent subdivision lots. As the deed of easement has been recorded, the new easement is technically already in place. Mr. Richard Waller, the neighbor to the north with the existing access, submitted a letter stating that he did not wish to grant access through his existing driveway for Mr. Brooks. Staff also received a letter from Scott and Andrea Bonner, who are the owners of Lot 1 of the Seagent subdivision, stating that they are in favor of the new easement along the north boundary line because it creates less impact to their property. Mr. Brooks, along with the Bonners, purchased their properties with the understanding that the access easement was approved without any issues, which was not the case and has led to the hardship of getting access approval. So without an access permit, the applicant cannot complete their site plan review for their residential development. The access is for a residence, which does not generate high amounts of traffic, so therefore we don't see any public detriment being created. Again, just the public comments that we did receive was from Mr. Waller and the Bonners in support of where the easement has been created. We have not received any other comments on this application. So with that, staff recommends that your board consider the variance findings as they apply to PLN 23-059 Brooks and approve, conditionally approve, or deny the variance for road standards, reducing the required distance between driveways accessing the county road right away pursuant to county road and bridge standards, and authorize the acting director to prepare a resolution reflecting your decision. And that concludes this presentation. And the Brooks are here.
Okay, would you folks like to present us with anything?
States that we did buy the place, assuming that we had that granted and we were good to go. And so it turned into where the realtor said he was taking care of business and did not, so here we are.
Yeah.
A year later, so we've not been able to do hardly anything with our property. I think it is less of an impact on the property of our lot and also Bonner's lots. Right now, where the entrance would have been is way more congested. I think there's a duplex driveway right next to it. There's a driveway right across the street from it. There's the Easton's property right there. He accesses it. So there's like multiple people using that. So to me, it lessens the hazard down there and just, you know, it'd be less traffic moving it to the north anyways. I feel so. And then it'd be less disturbance. And the Bonners wanted to build their house right where it originally was. So they've already put power pedestals in and they're just waiting to get the pedestal bought. And they already got the pole in from BMEA and everything. So they're on the right track, but their house is gonna be, well, they wanted it for the original access. So.
It's their property.
Right now, so, and plus I own a lot of heavy equipment and just the getting into our lot from the original one is just like, I'd have to spend way more money and again, disturb more of the Bonner's property and my farm property just to build a road to get to that lot versus just going straight down the fence line. So it just makes more sense.
We bought the property with the understanding
Yeah.
our realtor had already done all of this and that's.
Cool. Thank you for your time. You guys clearer than I am with
Can you go back to the site?
Do you want this one or do you want?
The back where you can show the Brooks's lot in comparison to the other. There you go. So I am familiar with this property. Old Mesa Road is running on that right side of the map. They're on the east side. The Waller property is to the north of this property, correct?
Yes.
He has a road that runs just north of that.
It's the access.
North of that.
Wallers
Yeah.
is across the top.
Yeah, and so if you go to the other one where you show proposed, the newest proposed, right? Yeah, Waller's is, what is it? Is it 40 foot? Is that what you guys said?
40.6.
North,
Yeah,
north of this.
from edge to edge, yes,
Is that Waller's right there?
yes,
Oh,
with the
and
cattle guard and archway.
Okay,
15967
That is Waller's.
is Waller's access.
Right, okay, so the property, I got the property in there now, right? And he's not granting,
He's not willing to grant an easement through his driveway.
but the proposed access there in the red, they are.
Yes, the Bonners are,
Are we
correct,
good with that?
yes.
So to get into the property now, you use where the cattle guard and the archway is, and then you've got to come back.
No, we just been kind of, all three lot owners have been becoming friends. One of them's the school teacher, so he lets us just go up through his place and, because we've been irrigating it. so.
Okay.
So luckily, we all get along.
Yeah,
That portion of road is straight and you can see quite a ways both directions, so sight distance is not an issue.
so is that reflective of which recommendation? This proposed access is reflective of
The variance,
the, so well, I know, is it the fourth staff recommendation?
yes.
Okay.
Sorry to bug you there, but could we go back to the paragraph that had all four options? And number 4 was the least. And that's the one the engineering likes the least, is that?
No, I support the first two. The third one is the easement from Waller, which
Right.
he's not willing to do. And the fourth is why we're here.
right.
Okay,
I prefer 1 and 2. I'm not opposed to 4, but I don't have the authority to make that decision.
correct.
It's landlocked, why would you use the access easement shown on the approved on that? Section.
The proposed one, go to that map. Next one, keep going. Keep going, no, to the one I created. That one, that proposed, the one in red is within the easement that was created after the subdivision.
Okay,
So there's already an easement in place, it doesn't meet the offset for the road and bridge standards for driveways. That's the issue.
Because of the proximity to the property.
They're supposed to be 200 feet apart, not 40.
And it essentially changed the approved access points for all those lots in the final plat. So it just, the owner who had it before, who did the subdivision, did this deed of easements on his own. And then sold the 3 lots to 3 different owners, and then this is what they are.
Yeah.
stuck
It
with.
was nothing the Brooks have done wrong.
Right.
Yeah.
So.
They're the victims here.
yeah, no kidding. Yeah, that's what I'm looking
It's a
at
good
too,
fix.
so I would make a motion that we would pass the variance, reducing the required distance in PLN 23-059 Brooks.
Okay, motion's been made.
We'll second that motion. That variance on the road for PLN 23-059 Brooks.
Okay, motion's been made, and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye,
Aye.
motion carries.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
We'll send you a follow-up letter. We'll probably early next week, but we'll get that out to you with what your next steps are for that. Okay,
Thank you.
all right.
Yeah, take care.
You don't want to say it.
It's a long one.
All right, next item on the agenda, PLN 23-066. Holder,
Yes. So this application, PLN 23-066 holder is to consider a variance reducing the required lot size from 31.22 acres in the A20 zone to approximately 2.5 acres. The subject property is located northwest of 2055 Lane in Delta, which is north of E Road. So the parcel is 31.22 acres and has been zoned A20, which requires a 20-acre minimum for subdivision. The parcel is the residual lot of the Coyote Run subdivision, phase 3. This application is for a minor plat. Lot 2 is being proposed at around 2.5 acres, give or take, with lot 1 being around 28 acres, which would also be the residual lot of the subdivision. Lot 2 does not meet the minimum acreage and requires a variance to lot size. 2055 Lane is a private road. There is a existing 60-foot wide non-exclusive common access easement that was put in place throughout the first 3 phases of the subdivision and was intended for future phases of the subdivision as well. And Tri-County Water has been installed to lot 2. So the subject property is located on the north side of E Road at the end of 2055 Lane, approximately 3.02 miles easterly of the city of Delta. Again, the parcel has been zoned as A20. The abutting properties have been zoned A20 with acreages ranging from 98 acres to 1.6 acres. There are areas of A5 to the west with acreages ranging from 40 acres to 2 acres. And then we've got A35 to the south, consisting of larger parcels, some of which contain irrigated ag lands, with acreages ranging from 458 acres to 4.37 acres. So the Coyote Run subdivision was started in 2018, and the sketch plan was approved with phasing. Phase 1 created lot 1, along with the residual lot, and dedicated 10 feet of right-of-way for E Road. Excuse me. So phase 2 created lot 2, along with the residual lot, and then phase 3 created lots 3 and 4 along with the residual lot. This phase was recorded in 2021. And with the completion of phase 3 and direction from the Board of County Commissioners, the applicant would need to apply to continue subdividing this parcel as originally proposed under the Coyote Run subdivision phasing plan. They would need to go under the current land use code. So the Board of County Commissioners did not want to continue under the subdivision regulations because the current land use code had repealed those. So that was the direction from the board on this application. Go back one. Huh, okay, I'm missing a slide in there. Sorry about that. I think because I made a change and go with it. I'll have to pull that back up if we need it. Sorry about that, you guys. So on the left here is phase 1, which was done in 2019. So you can see there in the bottom left corner, lot 1 was created, and then the remainder of the parcel. And then on the right was phase 2, which was completed in 2020, which created lot 2, and then the remainder of that lot. And then this is phase 3 that was done in 2021, and it created lots 3 and 4. with the remainder, which is now the subject property, that you see before you today. So once lots 3 and 4 have been developed and the final plat had been approved, the applicant had met with staff about the next steps in applying for the next phase of the subdivision under the current land use code. However, at that time, the land use code was in the middle of the first update. So our discussions went a completely different direction at that time. So due to the options of the 2021 code that are currently offered, there's still not a good option to proceed with the subdivision under the current regulations, as there's not another zoning option to make lots less than 5 acres, which is not the intent of the future development here. So the applicant was waiting for the updated land use code to offer new zoning designations to fit the intent of the subdivision, which unfortunately have not been adopted yet. So that's kind of where we sit right now. So this is a site plan. Lot 2 already has a house on it, as the applicant had ordered the house. I believe it was earlier this year, or was it late last year?
It was delivered of July last year.
Okay, so it was later last year. I couldn't remember. In anticipation of the land use code update being adopted. So the lead times on getting the houses and materials was just, it was so far out. It had to be ordered at a certain time to make sure that it got there and to be able to develop the lot. So there is a house sitting on there, so it does need to be developed. So we're currently in the process of a site plan review for that. Next slide. So as far as the criteria and the findings go, lot 2 is in the process of development. They do meet the UGA standards, and this parcel is not irrigated ag land, and it does not disturb wildlife habitat. And there is water to the lot. They've been working with Tri-County to, discuss the further development of the parcel as a whole. So that has been the intent since 2018. So they do meet the criteria. The findings, it's something that was started under the previous subdivision regulations, and unfortunately, it's hard to continue a phased application under a previous regulation that has been repealed by a new code. So our best option is to have them reapply, and right now, because the house was there, our direction was that she applied for the one variance to at least develop that lot. So that the house just isn't sitting there doing nothing until the land use code gets updated, so that there are other zoning options so that she can rezone to finish the subdivision as it was always intended to be. So that's kind of what we're looking at right here. So our recommendations are that access shall be constructed for lot 1, so the driveway to the county road standards and accepted by the county engineer prior to accepting and recording the final plat. 2055 lane shall end in a temporary turnaround, either a hammerhead or a cul-de-sac. Said turnaround shall be constructed to county road standards and accepted by the county engineer prior to accepting and recording the final plat. A shared access and maintenance agreement shall be submitted prior to accepting and recording the final plat. So to add the new lot to the common access easement through there for the maintenance part of that. And then the final plat shall be annotated such that no further subdivision of either lot created by the subsection is allowed unless the properties are rezoned. And then the final plat shall include easements for any utilities and access that cross other properties. So with that, staff recommends that your board consider required variance criteria and findings as they apply to PLN 23-066 holder, and approve, conditionally approve, or deny the lot size variance to subdivide a 31.22 acre parcel into 2 lots in the A20 zoning designation located on the northwest side of 2055 lane. And authorize the acting director to prepare a resolution reflecting your decision. And that includes that presentation. And the holders are here. And I'm sure you guys probably want to speak on this, would be my guess.
So I have several things to say, but my first and biggest concern is the notation that it can't be further subdivided. So in our subdivision, which we started back in 2018, and I would have felt like because I had a subdivision going and active, that I should have been notified better. There should have been communication at that point with the people who were involved in it, that the rezoning was going to change the way it was, but not a 20-acre lot to 5-acre lots. And I was not aware of that in any way at all until after it happened. And so we have come in and we have talked to the county commissioners at different times. And so my big concern is the fact saying that neither lot can be subdivided again. I want to make sure that it is very clear that we intend to subdivide lot 1 again and continue with our original 16 lot subdivision. That is our intent. We do have HOAs, and so the 2.5 acre lot that we're wanting in variance for right now, it does say in there that it cannot be subdivided again. So we do have that already in there, so it'll remain 2.5 acre lots. But that's my biggest concern right there. My other one is that we have tried to be very patient, I feel like, with the whole county debacle, I guess I'll say it that way. And we put our application in June of 21, I believe is what it was.
First one.
And paid at that point for our application, and here it is August of 23. And you know, the county keeps going through the processes, and I was very happy with the with how they were going to change it, and they were going to drop back to 1 acre lots. It was like that. It's going to work perfect for me because we're going to still do 2.5 acres. And then that whole thing got shot down, and we're back to, you know, the original. And so in the meantime, we are kind of on hold. And we've got money into this, we've got infrastructure into this, and we're just trying to be patient about the county getting the zoning right for out there. Our property is not agriculture. The reason we bought that property to start with was because it wasn't agriculture, and we wanted to put a subdivision, and we purchased that in 2005. So we've been, you know, slowly trying to do everything according to what we need to do. And we've come to a point where, like I said, we purchased this house. It was delivered in July of last year, and it's still sitting, and we're needing to get something done so we can get it finished and get it on the market.
Anything else? Any questions for staff?
So I do have a question. I think it's maybe one of the slides you were missing, unless I missed it up there. Have a picture of the,
Like the
16?
painting?
Yeah.
That's what's missing.
okay,
So can you do a stop share
Like that.
yeah.
and then get out of that? The PowerPoint. Okay, then reopen it. That has that added in. Yeah, so go to this one. That was the slide I was missing. That's what I wanted to show you guys. Was That's what the original sketch plan and phasing that was supposed to continue.
Okay. And so with that snapshot of those 16 months. I guess what has changed, or is that your end objective is to have those 16 months still?
That is,
Yeah, that is what the objective.
when you said you wanted to subdivide lot one.
They
Did I,
refer to the individual. as-
okay, as lot one, that's what I was gonna ask, not
Kind of confusing.
the bottom, yeah, okay.
Number
16 2.5 acre lots. Bingo.
So we have a house sitting on lot 5 now. And, we've got the water is into that one, and Tri-County has, put the cans for the water to lot 7. All the electrical is in for those additional 4 lots. So the way it's set up is there's 8 lots on each road.
There's enough water taps to suffice all 16 lots.
They said that
They
it was
just-
fine.
They just upgraded the water line in E Road to a 6-inch line before.
I don't know who this is towards, but I'll go to staff first. What would make the applicant not pursue all of phase 4? What,
Well, it's just,
did the county say they?
it's simply because the house is already sitting out there. So that's,
If the house wasn't there, would the county say you couldn't continue with phase 4 even though it was a phase subdivision? Is that what we're?
I mean, the direction from the board was that Coyote Run subdivision and the phasing was not to continue, and it needed to be applied under the current land use code. So essentially a new subdivision, but to finish out what had been originally approved via the sketch plan and the phasing.
So explain that to me a little bit better.
That's kind of why I.
Yeah.
It's
Because we had discussed, Kate and I, trying to figure out the best way to go forward on this right now because of the problem with zoning. And so she had mentioned to me that perhaps it would be easier to get the variance on the one lot 5. Because the other thing we had discussed was to go forward with phase 4, all 4 lots. So that we got that all approved, and we had talked with Carl about that and Kate probably a year ago. Saying, let's go ahead and get all 4 of them approved, so we're not coming back to the board constantly in our phasing. We can still phase, but it's all approved. And, but the way that the county is with zoning right now, and we discussed it, it sounded like the variance.
It's
might-
really the zoning that's
Be the
holding
best.
this up, is because if they were to apply for a rezone, the lowest that they could go, because we would not support them being rezoned to the RIC because they're not rural industrial, which would allow for 2 acre lots. And they're obviously not in the UGA, so that would not be a rezone option either. So the lowest option that they had was 5 acres, which still does not get them the 2.5 acres that they're wanting to do. So with the land use code update, that gives them the option for the rezone. It just did not come at the time that we thought it was going to come at. So
Essentially in the middle of the process of doing this, the code started to change and.
it was the update, and then it did not get adopted. And then it started to get reworked. So
Okay.
it's those 2 zoning designations are still in the update. It just hasn't been adopted yet. So as soon as that happens, she can apply for a rezone to that whole lot 1 and rezone it to the 1 acre minimum, because some of those, just to keep, it might be 2.28 acres. And so it doesn't meet the 2.5, right? So we do the 1 acre minimum. And then she can rezone and then phase out the whole project to continue that as a whole. So that's,
It's kind of weird,
the-
yeah.
That's the long version, and the short version is the variance.
Yes, for this one, because the house is sitting on it.
Correct.
And that's, she had ordered it in anticipation that the update would be adopted, and then it kind of just blew up in our faces and did not get adopted, so.
And sitting in our
Yeah.
bank doesn't make you any money, and it starts depleting after a minute, so. I understand that process now.
And I do just want to clarify on the condition that that lot one it can't not be subdivided, it's just it cannot be subdivided until it's been rezoned.
So would we be able to get a variance on it again, or like, is this a one-time variance?
So
That
it's,
concerns me too.
The way-
What if it takes 4 years to get the zoning done? It's already taken 2.
Don't say that. We're optimistic that it will be done by the end of the year. I know.
So this variance that we are considering is
so it's just for the
This-
one lot, because she's zoned A20, so her residual is
you're
2080.
essentially getting a variance just for one lot
Yes,
from this entire parcel.
yes.
Got it.
Okay. Phase 4, and she's already got power and water.
Oh, right. Okay.
That's, seems very kind of you. We've actually talked about this particular property. I think you were on Zoom. I can't remember the discussion. I remember what I said about it,
It was like last August or
Yeah. but
Yeah.
you know, with the housing crunch that we have here and finding lots. My comment on the time is there's no better place. It's just, it's horrible ground. I built homes out there. And if you can do it, you're not impacting anything.
No.
There's no better place to build a home. The ground is horrible, but you can mitigate some of that. You can bring fill in, you can do what you need to do. And man, I can't believe you're not going after all of phase 4 myself. It's not an option. It's, you know, it's not my place to.
Well, as soon as
If we get
as soon as it's an option, they will.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
But you have to wait for,
have to wait till we have a
Rezoning.
lower
Yeah.
zone so that they can take advantage of the 2.5, so.
They- With that, with multiple lots, that's multiple variances.
Yeah.
Right. We might be here for 2 years and 6
Yeah.
years.
Well, it just, that's something that staff doesn't necessarily support because
Sure.
it's supposed to be the exception and not the rule.
Right.
So, and unfortunately, we just didn't have the zoning designation for them to rezone to, so.
Right. I understand. I don't have any questions.
this would be a good test case for your rezoning, you know.
I think that's what they said, we were the guinea pig.
It's pretty unfortunate that you're getting this much started and all these years into it.
Right, that's the thing that bothers me the most is I felt like we were right in the middle of it, had a goal, we were moving forward, and then it was like, no, we rezoned it this way, and so now you're stuck. And so just a little background on it, it's like what we've done is it's livestock friendly. Said there are HOAs. So far, the only people that have anything is lot 1, and they raise dachshunds. And I think they have a few little sheep. The other people haven't, but it is zoned so that they can. Our HOA is very minimum, but to, take care of the neighbors and everything, and, be a good neighbor, basically. And a 2.5 acre lot, we did research on it before we ever did, determined what we wanted to do. And what we were seeing is, even on our lot size, people are moving out there and they make their yards and don't do anything with the other 2 acres. So now imagine if they had 5 acres. And we felt like driving around Delta that contributed to junk. Of course, our HOA, says they can't have that, but it just seemed like a 2.5 acre lot made a whole lot more sense when it's not farmed than a 5 acre lot.
Either of you have any questions for applicant or staff? Go to discussion.
No.
Any
I don't-
discussion? Sure. Just between.
We could restrict both lots from any further variance.
Well, that says for.
Well, the first one says subsection is not allowed for 10 years. The date the plat is recorded.
Yeah.
Alternatively, we could restrict both lots from any further variances. Intent of the LUC question mark.
Right.
So, but
Make
we
that
don't
pretty
know.
harsh
That's it, that was-
decision.
You're right.
They have babies right
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
Right.
Considering what they've been through.
Well, if you were to make a motion, you don't have, to. You could. Delete that from your motion if you're gonna encompass
Right.
more than one thing there. That's a great point, because you don't wanna. Restrict the unknown. The county's gotta get. Its act together and, do the land use code. To make a restriction when you don't know what the code's gonna be, seems.
Exactly.
And the part that they
So-
showed is 20 acres. Would take an awful lot of work to make it farmable.
I would say this one would be just approved as a condition.
Motion?
So do it first. Yeah. Please.
All right. Go ahead and make a motion to approve PLN 23066 folder. Granting them the variance, reducing the required lot size from 31.22 acres to 2.5 plus or minus acres.
And I would second that.
You wanna mention what you're gonna.
On staff, yeah, on staff recommendations,
Minus.
with the exception of, like, please, not confine them to, being able to not subdivide for the next 10 years. We want them to go through, and explain how I do this.
So, okay, so,
No conditions,
So,
correct?
well, so our recommendations are to no further subdivision until it's rezoned.
okay,
So not the 10 years, that's in there because that's where we were going instead of having it in perpetuity, but.
sure,
So that's why it's in the staff report, but our recommendation for them is until it's rezoned, then they can go through with the entire subdivision and phase
Okay.
it out. That's our recommendation.
shall I try that again?
Yeah.
I'll make a motion to approve PLN 23-066 folder based on staff recommendations and well, no, based on staff recommendations. All 4 lines would make sense because once they rezone,
Yes.
then they'll be able to continue that on
What, can I make
their
a
subdivisions.
suggestion for
Please do.
amended condition on number 3?
Yes.
If it would make you feel better, since that is how they are wanting to proceed with the subdivision, we could change the condition that. I mean, something that they could. Allow for one more variance for,
Develop one additional lot.
right, so lot 6 essentially.
Sure.
And then after that, no more variances until the property or the remainder has been rezoned. So that they could finish out the phasing. So that way they at least get 2 more lots completed.
If rezoning happens before that, they can go.
They
back
can
to
just
the
rezone.
Okay,
Mhm.
I think they said that they have a water tap, the can is in for lot 7,
Right.
not lot 6. Would it matter to you guys if you did it? If they could apply for another variance, might as well go where you've spent the money on the infrastructure
I mean,
for,
if, like I said, I know that this is the intent is to subdivide this out. I would be okay with allowing one more variance to that neighbor lot to have those 6 built up and then rezone the rest. That would. And maybe the update would happen before that 6th lot would be developed. And at that point, you just rezone whatever is remaining, and then you just phase out the rest.
That makes sense. Does that make sense to you? I guess we should have discussed this before.
But we-
Times.
Rescind all of those motions.
Mm.
So I have another question then. Sorry, it's just that it's been 2 years. So could there be something put on there? Because right now you're saying that we could have this one variance, we could have one more. We've already got all the electrical in.
It's not saying that you could have one,
But
but you
we
could
could
ask.
have one more. But we've already got all the infrastructure in. Now, what happens if the county drags this out another 2 years? So is there any way?
You won't have any staff.
Is there anything that could be put on there that we could come back if it goes past 2025 and it's not rezoned by the county yet?
That's not what we're here for.
That would be outside of
That
what,
would-
yeah,
That's not here. We
just-
did a decision.
You know?
Yeah.
Basically, the electric and the water is in for the next 4 lots. 5, 6, 7, and 8. The infrastructure, the road, everything is in. Can you maybe make all 4 of those accessible?
Well, what you've applied for is
Yeah.
5. That's what we can make a decision on.
Okay.
All the other discussion, like some of the stuff I brought up, thinking you were very nice not to go after all of phase 4, but I can understand the commissioners not wanting to have one of these, they used to call grandfathered subdivisions out there.
One of the commissioners did say he didn't think they had a legal leg to stand on to refuse our subdivision.
You should have taken that ball and run with it.
Well, we tried.
The lawyer made him back off,
Yeah.
but he did.
But what we can do here is, if the next motion that's made, would be made on lot 5, and that's what you've applied for. There's a whole lot of other discussion that's really not, we kind of got off track there. But we can make a decision tonight on lot 5, and if you want to add some verbiage that would not prevent them from applying for another variance.
Okay.
If we say no further variances in a staff recommendation somewhere. That would be kind of harsh. So how are
If
we?
we say no, I want them to have. Or maybe.
Exactly.
Okay.
They should have an option to
Do you wanna write
reapply.
this down for you? I'll just read it. I'm just kidding. Alright. Can I do this? Can you do this?
Yeah.
Alright, I'm going to make a motion for PLN 23-066 folder. To approve the current variant and. Add. With staff recommendations and add that. They will have the right to apply for future variances. As their properties get developed unless it is rezoned first. Does that work?
I like that.
Future variances or one.
One variance, one particular variance. For lot. Do I specify a lot?
I mean,
For one additional
for
lot,
one of the,
not in excess of 2.5 acres,
A lot in phase 4. You know,
a lot in phase 4. Shall I redo this again?
I think we got it,
got it.
yeah.
Yeah.
As the with the staff recommendations and one variance.
The ability to.
Yeah, the ability to make one. Yes, yes.
Are we saying that right? So we're not.
What, just say
saying-
one additional
One
variance? Yeah.
additional
Yes.
Yes.
Is that clear as mud?
Very good.
The motion's been made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Motion carries. Okay, good luck.
Thank you very much. I was so confused. Thank you, best of luck to you guys.
And then you'll get with me on.
Yeah.
Next step.
Yeah, we'll send a follow-up letter and I can call you to. Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Moving on, next is board comments, requests, or referrals. Do you guys have anything you'd like staff to work on besides the Christmas party that's up and coming or anything?
Happy New Merry Thanksmas. No.
Yeah, there you go.
No.
I'm assuming you'll all be kept abreast of what's going on with the LUC and the planning.
We can give you the Reader's Digest version from last night. The planning commission started on what had been presented back to them from the board, not officially, still in kind of that unofficial, what would you like to see changed? Planning commission then started on table 2B, and in their opinion, there needs to be additional notice and potential for hearing in front of the planning commission, and less emphasis on it just being a director decision for input. And so that was the direction they moved, primarily through the animal feeding operations, the rural, industrial, and started somewhat on the residential, but that's as far as they got. They'll meet again September 6th for another work session to continue that conversation. The Board of County Commissioners did not give the Planning Commission a hard and fast timeline. All Commissioner Kuntz has said is, I'd like to have this entire process done by the end of the year, as far as the update to the 2021 land code. So the Planning Commission, once it has the version officially presented to them, has no less than 30 days for them to work through all of their updates. And then they would give it back to the county commissioners. The county commissioners would then have their public hearing and talk through their changes before they adopt. There will be no public hearing in front of the planning commission. The commissioners have made that very clear. They're the elected officials, the planning commission, and you all are volunteers.
Okay.
So any questions on that or?
I don't think so.
It's kind of up to the county commissioners to get that thing presented.
It
The
is,
final one presented.
it is.
So you get your 30 days, you can advertise and be
Yeah.
done by the end of the year.
Yeah.
Nice.
And then we will start on that hard knockdown of changing the zoning maps, because there are those areas, just like we have here. That need to be changed.
As well as after that, probably the road and bridge standards.
And the road and bridge standards are gonna be updated, so there's several steps here to literally reduce what comes to you all as BOA. I mean, that is the end goal. You guys should not be the norm. You should be the exception.
Sure.
So,
Much as we like seeing you. guys.
much as we like seeing you, yeah, you're special beyond belief.
Just since you mentioned road and bridge again,
Mhm.
this last application, as they phase out through or anything they do in the future now, is going to be brought up to standards. And I made a point of trying to really pay attention, but nobody mentioned paving. It just said county road standards. So you're going to have a width prepped in gravel, or is it going to be a hard surface? Or what is
The
this?
current land use code states that if there's 6 or more lots,
8 or more.
8 or more lots, it has to be paved. I think there's an exception. I think you can do a dust mitigation plan or something like that, but
Okay.
if it's 8 or more, it has to be paved.
Because they didn't mention it, you didn't mention it.
Yeah,
We know it's out there somewhere, but
And that subdivision had gotten very stale. It was presented like it was ongoing, but it had gotten very stale and so the commissioners
never did
at some
terminate,
point,
right?
yeah. It said, you know,
Well, the subdivision regulations had,
Right.
expiration dates on
Yeah.
phasing, and
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
one of the other things that had happened.
so.
Yep.
Just, you know, big picture wise, it wasn't ongoing and then the commissioners changed the rules. It had gotten stale. So.
all right. That's kind of your department report. But
Just let it, you know, you all got the email of the director, that will start October 2nd. He does have a planning background, a community development background, a project management background from Longmont. He's finishing up a contract right now with the University of Florida. So his tie to the area is that his in-laws are in Mesa County, so that is the reason to move from the Front Range to here. I've not made the announcement publicly, you know, the horrendous treatment of Carl via the social media was not warranted. And I've just not made it public yet. And I'm not convinced of myself yet that I'm going to do it for a while, so.
Okay. Anybody got anything they wanna say before we adjourn the meeting? Ron, you're up, fine.
I'm thinking, no, I don't.
Okay. Well, nobody else has anything, let's adjourn the meeting. Great.
Now
Thank
I've
you.
got things. to say.
Yeah.